remember that they're changing my voice. People have very much dishonored the American spirit permanently. They've never taken any of my advice, and they've rejected all the commands God gave them through me. So, though tomorrow is July 4th, I'm going to make this video that has a lot to do with where America failed. There has never been an honorable July 4th in the history of America, and the truth transcends any nation's propaganda or any demands for respect from any nations, what have you. So now the parable of the abrupt ending, aka all true victories are in principle. Keep in mind they're changing my voice because they're very immature white Jewish and LGBT supremacists that run the military, run the state, they run the corporations, they tell everyone else what to do, what have you. In the end of all worthwhile living on the planet Earth, a young man grew to be the most handsome person that would ever live. He was also the top martial artist ever possible. Since he was mixed with more than one race, many females did not find him as attractive as they should have. They were blinded by generations of satanic flesh-based breeding, with various forms of psychology preventing them from transcending it. However, their callous hearts and the fact that people's children are often like them made it so they had no excuse. In some cases, 5 generations of people were alive at the same time. All of them had rebellious ways, and there was no excuse for that. He spent over 30 years trying to reason with them, and he had become older, but not old. After years of them using various fumes, poisons, and technologies on him, he said to them that they would damn themselves, everyone on the planet, and all their offspring out of heaven if they proceeded, yet they kept on. This happened as he did not impregnate a woman and raise a child himself to be God's representative after he was gone. Not only were other people not worthy, but in order for someone who was not his direct offspring to replace him, it would have to be done by God. This person would have to be in the divine order, which no one else is. And it would have to be done in a way that was fair to him and with his permission. God does not forsake the righteous by rewarding their enemies in such a way. So for many obvious reasons, it became too late for them to bring in children who could make it to heaven. And only individuals who obeyed God through him before his flesh died could go to heaven. God set him apart as the transcendent King of Kings in the fortress of Zion, the mountain of Zion, and the throne of Zion, which are all components of the same thing, and they are all in the spiritual realm and not on earth. Everyone on some level knew that he was seated on the throne, and that their forms of sabotage could not touch the throne or his soul. Due to the world moving against him in their own ways, he knew he could not continue on the path that God had set before him without sustaining too much damage to his body, which would mean that he would simply be on earth while just being abused. To do so would be to allow the enemies of God to mock God without a sound and logical moral repetition to negate and overcome their spirits. He could not willingly make that illogical gamble. That gamble is not the same as being imprisoned while doing what is wise and being abused while not being able to kill one's own flesh. Despite the countless thousands of religious centers on earth, none of them obeyed God through him or came to his aid, as they were all hypocrites who wittingly and otherwise worshiped the devil, and they worshiped the devil that much. So the true hero of heroes gave them an ultimatum. He knew they owed him over $1 billion compensation easily, and so he told them to either pay him $200,000 a year minimum or $10 million after taxes all at once, which would give him the financial freedom he needed to do God's work and to secure a suitable helper. Though it was too late for there to be a valid successor no matter what. He also told them they must not try to make it so he seems gay or ugly, etc., using technology or otherwise, as he could never allow that. They must not try to get him to settle for a female he didn't deem attractive enough, mind, body, soul, and spirit, and they must stop persecuting him past a certain point, as he was older and he had sustained a lot of damage. If they did not, he would bring his flesh to an abrupt end, striking the earth with his head like a lightning bolt. If they did not, he would bring his flesh to an abrupt end, striking the earth with his head like a lightning bolt from God Almighty, striking the spirit of all the inhabitants of the earth and their offspring. Regardless of whether or not they use technology to assist it, it would be the most potent strike on the human race ever, and the people on duty and the people giving the order would suffer to the extreme forever, having lived the most failed lives. And of course, everyone outside the divine order would suffer to the extreme. And it would be stupid for them to try to take credit for God's work, or to try to make themselves make themselves look good at the expense of God and His Son. Be very, very stupid. Some, to their extreme shame, said that they do not care, as they were low-bred scum. They were low-bred scum who did not honor God, and they were not raised to be men. So they just said, we don't care. As you can imagine, the scum who caused 9 million people to starve to death a year also refused to meet his requirements. One of them, who was gay, said that is not how it works. Another said, we will see what we can do, knowing they would not meet his requirements. A third said, I am sorry that this is happening to you, in a way that reflected that they had accepted their life failure and had some long-shot hope of escaping hell or something. Yet another said that everyone there was a bitch, a common insult of the time that meant a female dog, an idiot, an unruly and unfair female, a coward, and more. In a sabotage state, the anointed waited day in and day out, and every now and then it would be time to die, and he would be mentally prepared, but they would cause something to happen that they knew would justify the delay. Some of them must have said to themselves that they are doing an experiment, and their military training or whatever training they had caused them to have a one-track mind and to focus on the mission. When the time came for there to be 5 days before he planned to do it, he sat there in his car, hot, in a ripped sweater, as they had done something to his clothes, and any clothes that he buys in person or online had some kind of substance or chemical on them that prevented him from wearing it. So he had one nice pair of clothes to go out in, and he'd wear clothes that were ripped up when he was at his house. And he was working on various papers at the same time. It did not pay to think about the end, as they would hack his brain and cause him to lose focus, as they were trying to exert power so that rich people and others could brag and feel like empowered, petty, and useless, childish occult worms who pretend to be powerful. You see, they were monitoring him all the time, including his brain activity. Many people in the gay community knew what was going on, and they knew that this case made them look bad. If people knew that whites and Jewish supremacists had teamed up with them to screen out the Son of God while acting like evil children and abusing people, even the most disgusting of them would feel embarrassed. Still, people did not really respect them either way, and it was their chance to make something of their lives. So still, people didn't respect them either way, and it was their chance to make something of their lives, to permanently define themselves in their community. The people doing it pretended that they had 3 options. 1, he would die. 2, he would be compensated, and they would meet his requirements. And 3, he would do what he would never do, which is assimilate. In reality, only the first 2 were possibilities. Only his flesh dying, or him being compensated and then meeting his requirements. To put it all in perspective, as this parable is a bit complex, and it is meant to be simple, the top 50% in America alone had 162 trillion combined. The bottom 50% had 2 to 4 trillion, depending on whether or not it was a little after rent time. And he had given all of his money to his parents, meeting basic needs, and the poor. but he still had a certain potential to generate money. And so his top martial arts challenge in both forms continued. His top martial arts challenge that was part of God's work was continuing, and if he was allowed to recover, they could try to beat him at sparring, which is impossible, to get $60,000 to $100,000 if he wasn't compensated, and $200 million if he was. He knew he was the best ever possible because technology, breeding, cheating, and generational ill-gotten gains would rule out anyone after him, and that his challenge was more than fair, and he could more than get the money if he's not compensated, and he could more than pay for the challenge if he was, but it was impossible to beat him, especially after everyone else on the planet was in the repetition of being a punk, except for his parents. And there's something to be said about his brothers, who, like everyone else, couldn't beat him no matter what. He asked one of them that if this story ends in them not meeting his requirements, and the only other option being realized, his abrupt death, what happens? The one he asked said the offspring of the people responsible should slap them to death. He told them that when the story ends, God will cook everyone according to their deeds one way or another, and they must mitigate. Who should they believe, the top martial artist ever possible? He who only fears letting down the one true God? Or the fools who are not even smart enough to obey God through him? Truly, they're not even adults. Surely even the agnostic knows that a short righteous life is greater than a long wicked life, a long conformist life, and a longer life of mocking God instead of finishing the best life ever lived masterfully, all put together. If you have any questions about the parable, put in the comments. I plan to make a video where I explain it in the future, but I have to keep this one short because I still have to upload this, and they're making it hard for me to upload it. I'm on the side of the road by my house.